Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another live edition here on The Rock Pile. Tonight, The Rock Pile brings you another episode of Inside Utica University Football Podcast with head coach Blaise Faggiano. Excited to bring Coach on as we'll be talking about their upcoming home ECAC bowl game this week at Gaetano Stadium on Saturday. Excited about that. We'll talk Brockport, the game last week. I watched the entire game from my phone. Which was a thrilling game to watch. So we'll talk a little bit about that, that and much more. Coach and I will do another episode next week. We'll wrap things up next week. We'll do a whole season recap. Should be fun. Hard to believe. I say this every week with coaches. We keep getting towards the end of the season, and here we are with just 2 weeks left to go. So I'm trying a new software out tonight, so I told Coach to bear with me. Hopefully I don't screw this thing up. I know I'll probably hiccup somewhere. But if you're watching on YouTube anywhere, make sure to hit subscribe. Follow me anywhere you can. It'll be across all social media platforms as well as Apple Podcasts. So without further ado, let's see if I can get Coach on here. There he is. Coach, what's happening?
What's going on, Rock?
Not much. How we doing tonight?
We're doing. Just had our full padded practice, and one day closer to Saturday.
So, Coach, I got to tell you, so I was watching the Brockport game from my cell phone online, and we were going to the UC hockey game that night, and I'm watching it, and my wife's like, are we getting ready to go? I'm like, I got to see the ending of this game. It was a good game. I was so surprised at how well your team played considering the conditions.
Listen, it was a day. So, we'll just start with the morning phone call at 7:30 that the bus – that's one of the buses on campus, the brakes have froze. And we have to wait for a new bus. And listen, Wade does a great job, right? So, but they're in Schenectady.
Yep.
So we gotta wait an hour and a half for the bus. Okay. And now at the same time, we have a team meal that some of our alumni were very generous. This is like a first time thing that a group of our alumni paid for our pregame meal out in Rochester, which was like big time. Nice hotel. And what's great is we roll in the hotel. And one of our former guys, Chance Harris's mom's working in the hotel, and Chance comes and visits. And so we're getting close. So we're there. So now we get up there, and now there's a lightning delay. so Coach Mangoni, I got to tell you, he was great. All right, we'll delay the start to 2:30. Well, then we get there, didn't start till 3. And it was a little hairy during the warm-up. Let's just say that. But they had some Section 5 playoff games that were going to be on that field afterwards. So, and then when I tell you the rain, it was cold, and and obviously everyone knows we like to throw the ball, like to throw the rock, and you would think that would just be the worst case scenario, and we still did. More so in the second half, which we could talk about, okay, successfully, but it was really an incredible win, and very proud of our guys, and probably one of the ones I remember the most. It was a wild game.
Coach, I know I said this to you throughout the season, and I know every team has been different, but you can tell when you and I have talked throughout the season of how much fun you've really had and how much you really love this team. And no coach ever wants it then, right? You have this week left, and then, this group is done, and you move on, your seniors move on. But I could tell just how much you really love this team.
Well, our university just put a whole bunch of pictures on Facebook from the game last week.
Yep.
And they're just the looks on the guys' faces. And, it was one of those games where everything that we're all about, we were able to do. Now, I think that the thing that was wild is guys who made mistakes early in the game. And I told Nico before the game, I said, you're gonna have more field goal attempts today. Just trust me. They have a really good defense.
Yeah.
One top defense. Both teams had top 20 defenses in the country going into the game, right? And so we always talk about you just have to have the best defense on Saturday. And so kudos to our defense, keeping, I think, that one of their lowest point totals of the season at 20. Obviously didn't look good at great. We go down 14-0. But Nico misses a field goal early that he easily can make, and then makes what ends up being really the one that kind of the game winner. We had the game winner, and then we had Eli's pick that sealed it. And then even Tyler. Tyler had a couple big special teams plays. We had a blocked punt, and then we recovered a fumble off a kickoff, and we threw a couple interceptions after that. Didn't phase them in a negative way, I should say, and just kept battling, and obviously made some plays for us to get in the end zone. So I was just very pleased on how the guys played in some crazy conditions.
Well, I was going to say the conditions, and I was sitting as I'm watching the game and saying, okay, Utica, we love to throw the ball all over the yard. Here's a torrential downpour. I'm saying, man, I hope this doesn't get into a run game because, as you said, those RPOs all year, we really haven't ran the ball the greatest because of the RPOs. I'm like, please don't let this. But you guys just threw it around the field like it wasn't even raining out.
Like it wasn't even. It's crazy. Like it wasn't even raining out. And Bryce Palmer just had a day. Logan Frederick just had a day. And then our O-line, like this has to be the most decorated team that we've ever had as far as like in a national level with the national players of the week. We've had multiple. And this week, the whole offensive line got it, which to go to Brockport and to not give up a sack against Brockport, again, Coach Fox, great DC. They have some dudes on defense. That is not easy. And, I was really impressed with how those guys played. So if there was 5 weeks in a row, they hadn't given up a sack, which was incredible. Yeah, it was pretty wild. And then defense. Listen, we gave up a couple 100 yards rushing. Isaiah Simmons and that O-line's no joke, and then they had the Wildcat quarterback going, and they really kind of seemed that they were kind of, trying to hold on to a lead, and really run the ball. And I think it was the only time, I think we lost the time of possession by a minute. And that's the first time this year in a game that we haven't had the time of possession, right? So that certainly was what their plan was. It was a wild one.
Coach, defensively, what changed for you guys? Because the second half, I think you only held them to 6 points in the second half. What was really different? Because they just ran the football. I was like, if we can get them in a 3rd and long and they got to throw the football, I really like our chances. What changed for you guys? Did you guys make any adjustments?
We did. And both offense and defense made some adjustments. Defense, again, it's all about the run game and the fronts and how you're slanting the guys. And you got to be able, you can't just sit in one front the whole time and let the Brockport line know how you're going to line up. So we made some good adjustments there that got us some negative plays and got them in a situation, in those 3rd and longs. And then, I think a big moment was like the 4th and 2, and they were going to go for it. They tried to get us to jump and they decided to punt. That was a big moment. And then we have a huge 16-yard punt return to give our offense some really good position there. Offensively too, we tried to be a little more balanced in the first half. In the second half, we just said, nope, we're gonna throw it, and we're an empty formation and running some option type routes, and they're doubling Bryce just about every 3rd down in multiple plays. He had 2 guys on him. It was wild. They really threw the kitchen sink at us for sure. And even special teams wise, our guys came to play. Our kickoff unit they had some of the top returners in the league in their punt return and kick return. Devin Taylor smashed it in his punts, did a great job. We had some great coverage, and Nate Hernandez blocks another punt. That was a huge play. We actually, in the middle of the play, they kept changing their protection for where we were trying to block it from. And the last second, we flipped it again. Didn't give them time to switch, and then Nate came off the edge to block it. Mason Payton had a huge forced fumble that Mason Mascari recovered. So we kept making plays. And got a little hairy at the end. They're driving to they got a great field goal kicker, so they're driving to kick the game-winning field goal. And Eli Douglas had a huge pass breakup, almost ended it there. And then for him as a senior to finish his career like that in the regular season, to have a pick 6 like that was wild. And then we had trouble with their extra-point field goal, so they're getting the ball back, and we're only up 8. So that was.
Coach, I kept saying, I got to be honest with you, like in the rain, because I held in college for extra points, and when it was raining, I'm like, it's pouring out. You got to execute the snap. You got to get the ball down, right? And I'm like, just get the ball down, get the snap, I don't think people really realize how hard that is in those conditions for that play.
It's huge. Crazy. And then we, on our end, we actually blocked an extra point, which was, again, every play is magnified, in a big game like that. It was their senior day. They were fired up. And then, again, they're playing for postseason as well. They ended up 3 of us have home games, because Fisher's playing an ECAC game and they're home, and Brockport's playing an ECAC game and they're home. So, but yeah, it was, our guys have been tough. Like certainly disappointed we didn't get in the tournament. For the folks that follow us, like, didn't help that Johns Hopkins lost.
Yeah.
Right. Because then all of a sudden now they took a Pool C when they should have won their AQ. It didn't help that Cortland and RPI lost. And in the numbers of the NPI, we needed some of those things to swing it. Right. But then really quickly, our guys knew. I told them really after our second loss that we went out and one of two things will happen. We're either going to make the tournament or we'll have our first ever home ECAC game, because we've been to 5 of these things. And this is the first time we get to host it. Our parents are beyond excited that they can tailgate again.
Yeah.
We actually invited all of the tent sponsors from all 5 games. We've actually invited them if they wanted to come out and join us in the tent. We left the tent up because we kind of had a good feeling that we were going to be home. And so that's a cool thing. So I think we'll have a good crowd there, and just been trying to put the word out that it's a normal game. It's season ticket. If you have a season ticket, it'll work. Normal tickets just $5. The weather's going to be great, and we're excited about this upcoming opportunity. But certainly a great way to end our regular season with the big win on the road.
So I kept checking all the Twitter, all the sites, and everybody kept putting in like their projections, and I kept looking. I was like, okay, Utica was like one of the first 2 out, and I'm like, okay, well maybe another guy will post and have you guys in. And then the later it got, and I'm like, it doesn't look like they're going to get in. And I'm like, shit, but Coach, you mentioned those 3 guys. I want to go back to Bryce, Logan, and Antonio. And I'm sitting there saying, man, what a season these 3 guys. And I know Logan was hurt earlier. He came back and he's been unbelievable. And these guys have had great careers, for you. And just talk about each one, if you can, and just how special of a season it's been in their careers.
I mean, Logan, I talked about him in front of the team the other night, and for those that maybe haven't heard me talk about him, showed up at the school with his dad, moved back to the area, wanted to be a PT, had his Herkimer degree. Some people saw him play basketball at Herkimer, and literally played 2 years of what you would say would be the JV wide receiver. And certainly athletic, certainly had good hands. But then, anytime a young person makes a decision, and we had talked to him about the possibility of moving to tight end, but I don't like making guys.
Yep.
I'll try to nudge them, but I don't like making them. And then this winter, he came at me, Coach, I'm putting 20 pounds on and moving to tight end. And not only did he do that, but he is an incredible blocker. And he's one of the best tight ends in the country.
Yeah.
So great story, and an amazing student in the physical therapy program. He has another year of eligibility left. No announcements yet, but his coursework works out well because his clinicals in the summer and next spring, and the fall he'd be in classes. All right, so we're sometimes you have to recruit your own guys.
Keep working.
And everyone knows Tyler has another year too. I think the biggest thing with Bryce in talking about Palmer is and I said this today in the leadership council meeting, is that he is one of the toughest, grittiest people I know. He has battled so many injuries, and I mean, he could be beyond sick. Most guys wouldn't practice, and he's fighting through practice, and he battled through a lot this year to have a full season, which he hadn't had yet. He had some injuries. So he has really battled to have just an amazing season. I didn't look at I know he had 70 catches going into the last game. So I don't know what I can't think of. What was his total?
Yeah, he had 9 catches last week for 137 yards and 3 touchdowns.
He was at 79 catches.
Yeah.
See, that's wild.
I mean, Logan had 10 catches. He had 10 in the game, and then Antonio had 6. And I feel like Antonio kind of is the guy that goes under the radar and makes some big catches for you guys in games. Because, I mean, Bryce is getting doubled at times. Logan gets doubled. And Antonio just seems like he's in the right place at the right time.
Well, you love having the big physical receivers, and as a captain, he's had a great senior year. Again, came back from an ACL injury. And what's great is not only does he make the big plays, but he is a great blocker. You know what I mean? And just the example that he set for the Velez's of the world. Lorenzo on that final drive, probably the biggest catch in his career, man, had a huge catch on that drive where got us in that field goal position. So, the leadership's been great with this group for sure. And I told him today, I told him thank you from the bottom of my heart. This has been a pleasure to coach these guys. I'm looking forward to one last go ahead with Saturday, but I'm gonna be disappointed when it's done for sure.
And Coach, I know we've talked about your quarterback Tyler all season, and he throws for over 3,000 yards, which was a single season record. He tied the single season for touchdowns with 31, and he had 249 completions, which the record I think on your stat thing was 254. So I know we've talked about him a lot, but in the conditions where you guys threw it as much as you did, to be able to throw it in those conditions was pretty cool. And then the season he's had, it's pretty special.
And like myself, he was pretty fired up to go back home to Rochester, and I know he had a lot of family and friends there, and his Aquinas coaches were all there. So, in the game of football, we all know how important the quarterback, right? Who's under the microscope, right? The head coach, the quarterback, right? They're always the first two. And it's a really special thing when, because someone could have talent but not have the success, right? So Tyler certainly has the talent, the arm strength, can run the ball, the leadership. So then you take a young man that has the talent and you put him in a system where he can be successful. And that's credit to Coach Klaus and Coach Zanelovic, and it's really a special thing when that all comes together. Yeah, with the protection, with the scheme. I've always been a big slot receiver guy. I've always been a big tight end guy. I'm not a Patriots fan, but you look back at the Tom Brady times and Edelman and Gronk, and like that's such a big part of what we do. And we're one of the few schools over the years there. We're going to find someone. We've had some amazing slot receivers going back to Cody Elliott, and Jared Beniquez, and Peyton Miller, and Bryce and Nate Palmer and Bryce Palmer. So we love using that guy. Like those guys are tough to, sometimes they're a smaller running back in high school, really quick and elusive, and you get these big linebackers, and they have a hard time tackling those guys in space. So, I've always been a big slot guy. We kind of joke around and say we're slot U sometimes, because some teams just don't use them the way that we do. So, again, Tyler's been great. He's learned as the season has gone on. He's learned about the Empire 8. Him and I have talked about that at length. We meet every week, and again, we think Utica. We always have a little chip on our shoulder. There's always something to prove, and this is a big matchup this week. I know I want to get ahead of you, but big matchup. Right, Empire 8 and Jack. So we're always kind of continuing to kind of prove, where we are as far as in the national stage, I guess.
So, Coach, let's talk about that. So Rowan comes in, and I got to be honest with you, I don't know too much about the NJAC conference at all. I'm sure you do, but Christopher Newton seems like they're the top dog over there. I don't know if they're the top dog every year, but I know Salisbury, I know Montclair State. They were right in that hunt with those four teams. How much do you know about that conference? And I know there's a lot of history with Rowan over there, but how much?
A lot of history. Coach Accorsi, who Coach Rulli played for. I again played against him in the playoffs back when I was at Fisher. Casey Keeler, the head coach before him. So they have a lot of tradition at Rowan. They used to be called Glassboro State back in the day. We played them in the playoffs when I was at Ithaca. My freshman year, I was in the stands, but really good program. The NJAC's great football. New Jersey's great football. It changed when they added Salisbury and Christopher Newport, right? So, a lot of the conferences moving around. Salisbury used to be in the Empire 8 years ago. So Coach McClendon, our DC, is Salisbury alum. And, so he talks to those guys and gets some feedback. But, Rowan, if you look at them, it's not much different than us. Like they barely lost to Salisbury and Christopher Newport.
Yep.
And one of those with one more win maybe gets them in there, right? And then they had that crazy tie, right, in week one. We're us. We had the Hobart and Cortland loss, right? That type of deal. So the way the ECAC's gone, which is a little different, is they are taking the top two teams and pairing them up to make the game like the kind of marquee game, as Frank and JB described it. And they do a nice job with that. But that's how it always was. At 18, Ithaca was the top seed at 8-2. We're in there 6-4, and we're playing Ithaca. So,
yep.
I kind of thought that Rowan earned a home game, right? Like Rowan's on the road. It's 7-2-1, and then you got some other teams out there that have home games. It's kind of, so you kind of scratch your head on that. But I've always been a big ECAC bowl game guy. We won a couple of them while I was at Ithaca. When I was coaching, we a big one at Fisher when I coached there. We beat Cortland. That kind of got us, over the hump when I was at Cortland. And certainly they've been great for us at Utica to build our program. So they, if you watched it, they talked a lot about Grove City, and I busted their chops because I had my Ithaca shirt on from 18, right? So I know they want to talk about, and I have a lot of respect for Grove City, but 18 was a big year for us to go and beat Ithaca, when no one thought we could do that, and we did that on the road at Cornell. All the guys that were a part of that, like we've really that was, they talk about a year getting over the hump. I always look back to 18, and we've done some great things since then. So, but the Rowans, big physical team. They have some really good running backs. They have a massive offensive line, multiple tight ends, really good receivers. Our quarterbacks had a really good year. Very efficient with the ball, gets rid of it quickly, really good in their RPO game. Defensively, again, they're going to blitz you, and they're going to put pressure on you, and they're going to slant and twist, and really try to put some pressure on your offense. So, certainly a good matchup. And it's always unique. Like you get the 3 films on Monday afternoon, right? And you're hustling to get a game plan together the next day. But Coach Ruli's done a nice job there. Just been there 2 years. He played linebacker for Coach Accorsi, I believe. So
yes.
He's a Rowan alum. And then we're familiar with him. He was the DC at Susquehanna.
Yes.
When we played Susquehanna. So we have some history with him there.
Coach, I feel like they're similar to you guys, and I mean, I'm just going off of stats. I went through some of their game by game stuff, but defensively, they're really good against the run. It seems like their conference wise, they were last against the pass, and with you guys being able to throw the ball all over the yard, looks like they're kind of balanced. The quarterback doesn't turn it over much. He completes a lot of his balls. So they look like they're pretty solid up front, but on the back end seems to be where they struggled this year. They're giving up over 200 yards a game through the air.
Yeah, those passing yards can always be deceiving, right? But you're right on. I mean, I think they're the quarterback, just a good job. He gets rid of it quickly, and that's, Tyler, that's why he's hard to sack, right? It's because we're not sitting back there 3-4 seconds, right? We're trying to make decisions quickly, get the ball out quickly, and that's what their quarterback's been able to do. So I'm just glad to see, Rowan go into the ECAC. I hope more NJAC teams do. Empire 8 typically has teams, the President's League, sometimes some New England teams, but I'd like to see some more NJAC teams put in the future for sure. I think it's a great opportunity. These guys don't get to play football when they're old and gray, so.
Coach, when you think now and then, come Saturday, what do you think your final message will be to the guys before you guys go out onto the field, knowing it'll be the last time with this group before you prepare for next season? Have you thought about what your message will be?
I mean, not fully yet, but I think, right off the rip would be, enjoy playing the game you love with guys you love, and this is a really close group. They've set a great foundation. They got us back on track. We talked a lot about as a program. We had those 3 straight winning seasons. That was a really big deal for Utica football. And then we weren't very happy, is probably an understatement, about that 5-5 year, right? Yep. And we talk about programs like we want to consistently win, right? Whatever that looks like. Is it 8 wins, 9 wins, 7, 10? But, you want to be one of those programs that we consistently win. And so I was glad that those guys were able to work on their team chemistry and get us back to that in the win column for sure, which, you look at the season, I know people were kind of going, really? You're opening up with W&J, RPI, and Hobart. Okay. That's a little different, and Alfred State coming in to the conference, that did solid in their first year. So I was really proud of our coaching staff. Again, a lot of all of our grad assistants were first-year coaches. A few of which would place for us. Some we brought from the outside, and just really, Coach McClendon, the job he's done with our defense. They've been playing lights out, and Coach Clausen coaching all of it. So they've really all done a nice job. And then I had fun coaching special teams. I really had to take the reins this year more I've been spoiled the last couple of years. I had some great guys that were the special teams coordinator, and I would certainly assist, but didn't have as much of a hand. And at the end of the day, I enjoy coaching, and that was fun this year. It was definitely more on my plate, but I was glad I was able to do it and have fun working with all the guys.
Coach, I meant to ask you, how fun was the high school all-star game last week? I know it's always special to be at your stadium, give those kids an opportunity to play in a college stadium and, to showcase the talent around the area. But how nice was that night for you guys?
That was great. Our sports information director, Jordan Lambert, calls the game and gets the scoreboard going for the guys and the music playing. The weather started out a little crazy. We had some.
Yep.
I learned on the news what they call it. Is it grapple? Is that what I heard? My folks at WKTV when it's frozen snow, but it was. So we're supposed to burn the shoe before the game, and we went and did it inside. We had the shoe was still outside the picture window, but. So we did our burning of the shoe ceremony, and then a lot of the guys went to the game, and I went up in the press box, and our students actually called the game. It was on Empire 8 TV. Some of our players, Gavin Gretsch and Justin Lannion, interviewed me at halftime. So it was a lot of fun, and I hope it's something that we continue to host at Utica.
Well, Coach, I'm going to put this up here, but I don't know if you could see it. I am.
I can see it, yeah.
I am exactly – I might have put this wrong. No, I'm actually one game up going into this week. So I don't have Colgate on here this week. So I did that. So I know you would have picked Colgate, and I don't want you to think I'm cheating because I'm talking to Coach Fitz. And I am going to tell Coach Fitz on Sunday, Coach Foz picked you every week. And I'm going to tell him, unfortunately, I didn't pick him every week, but I wanted you to see that, so I'm not cheating.
Gotcha.
But there's some good games. How about Coach Franklin? Coach Franklin got the Virginia Tech job. I think it's a great fit for him. I think he's going to do a great job there.
He's a great coach, a great mentor. Certainly happy for him.
So, Coach, the first game, Oklahoma had the huge win over Alabama, and I think I'm looking at my notes from last week. I think you and I both had Alabama.
Wow.
So, Oklahoma, they're at home. They're a 7.5 point favorite. You think they keep it going?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, that momentum after that last week. Confidence is such a powerful thing. So they have that. Coach Venables got that going at Oklahoma.
Yeah, I'm with you. I keep hearing Eli Drinkowitz, the Missouri coach, is up for a couple of those other jobs. I keep hearing Florida for him, but we'll see what happens there. All right, SMU at home. Louisville got beat last week, so Louisville's still ranked. I feel like things are kind of going in the wrong direction for them here late. I love Rhett Lashley over at SMU. They're a 3.5 point favorite at home. Who you like?
I'm going SMU.
I'm with you. I like SMU. I like SMU in that game. All right, let's see. Who else did I have here? Oh, I love this game. USC had a monster win, and I'm looking at your notes and mine from last week. We both had USC last week against Iowa in that horrible, horrible torrential rain downpour. I think Lincoln Riley's figuring a few things out. He's got to run the football and be physical in the Big Ten. I think I'm going to pick mine. I think they go into Oregon as a 10.5 point dog. I think they beat Oregon in Oregon this week.
Okay. All right, this is where I'm going to gain a game on you. I'm going to go with Oregon. I've been just so impressed with Oregon in the past and how they're running the football and they're physical and finding ways to win. I'm not sure if they're going to get some of those skill guys back or not. That could help sway me one way or the other, but I'm going to go Oregon.
All right, we might have to have a tiebreaker next week on a game or two. All right, Georgia Tech, and this is the one I can't figure out because Miami right now is in the playoffs. They're in the 12-team field. They're like third in the ACC. They're not even going to play for the ACC title. Georgia Tech, who's got one loss right now, would be in the ACC title game, and they're not in the playoff. Pittsburgh came out, and Narduzzi said he didn't care if he lost the Notre Dame by 100, which Notre Dame blew them out last week. So here you go, back in conference, Georgia Tech at home, 2.5 point favorite. Who you like?
Georgia Tech.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Great coach.
I love Georgia Tech.
He's done some great things there. They're going to be playing with a chip on their shoulder for sure.
I think he stays at Tech. He played there. I think he's going to stay there. I know his name's up for some of these other jobs too, but he's just a right fit at Georgia Tech, and he's got him playing really well. So I hope he stays. Here's another big game, Big 12. Cincinnati had a loss last week. This is where game day's going. I'm not sure why game day's going to this one, but it's two ranked teams. I'm going to give you my pick. I'm going to go with BYU. I like them on the road here. Cincinnati's a 2.5-point dog at home. Any chance Cincinnati gets them at home this week?
And then is it BYU lost last week or 2 weeks ago?
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago. I'm gonna go BYU.
Yeah, BYU lost to Utah in the rivalry game.
Right.
All right, so you like BYU. Okay, so we got one difference so far. All right, so we're going to do the Syracuse game a little bit different here because I don't think either one of us are going to pick Syracuse to beat Notre Dame. This game's in at Notre Dame. We're going to bet the spread this game, you and I.
Oh, come on.
So we're going to make this one a little bit interesting because you're going to pick Notre Dame, and I am too. I don't think you're going to pick Syracuse to upset them. Notre Dame is a 35.5-point favorite at home. Does Syracuse cover the 35.5?
Oh God.
That's tough, isn't it?
Ready? I'm gonna say no.
So you're going to take Notre Dame minus the 35.5.
Yeah. This is where we'll be dead even on this one probably because
I don't think Syracuse covers it. I think they're going to get killed. I saw that the Velarde kid's starting at quarterback. God, 35 is a lot of points though. I mean, you're starting a game, you're down 35-0. Even if Syracuse can score a field goal, I think I'm with you, Coach. I think I'm going to lay the 35.5.
All right.
I just figured it'd be fun. We'll pick the spread in that game. All right, so I didn't put Colgate on here. This is where I think game day should have went. This is one of the oldest rivalries.
Game day should have went here.
Yep, they were talking about it. It was an option, but Lafayette's had a really good year in the Patriot League. Both teams are undefeated in league play. The winner gets the automatic bid in. I don't know if if it's Lehigh that loses this game, there's still a shot they could get in. But the Patriot League, because of their strength of conference, I'm not sure they'll get to win. In the past, there's been year Colgate and Lehigh have both went to the FCS playoffs. Big game. It's at Lafayette. Last year, Lehigh beat them. Who you like in this one?
Oh, I'm going to go with my guys at Lehigh.
Yeah. I'm with you. I think Lehigh right now, I think they have them fourth. As a matter of fact, I think I'm going to be on the FCS selection show, which I got to get some notes ready because I got asked to be on that. I haven't done too much on some of the conference. I'm gonna do the Patriot League one with the Patriot League guys. But I think if Lehigh doesn't win, I think they'll still get in. But I think they're deep, man. Defensively, they're really good. A lot of experience on the O-line. I think Coach Cahill's got a team that can make a really deep run in the playoffs.
I think when they went to the 63 full scholarships for that league, that helped that league for sure.
Difference.
And then they still have the ability to kind of break them up too, which is pretty wild. So that allows them to really develop guys, right? From what I understand, those jobs are pretty well sought after positions because you actually can develop people and they're not doing NIL,
Yeah, in most of those schools, Coach, the facilities over the years since they've went to the full scholarship, the facilities have gotten a lot better all over the place. A lot of good stadiums, but the Patriot League's really good football, really competitive league. They play a really tough non-conference. They'll play some of the big boys. Coach Fitz, they played Syracuse, this year at Syracuse, so a good recruiting tool for a lot of the Patriot League teams. So we'll see. It looks like you might have a chance to pick up a game on me that we could be tied going into the final week of the season. But, Coach, I appreciate you coming on with me. I know we'll recap it all next week, but this has been an honor to have you on. You gave me an opportunity to sit and learn football from you, who I respect you more than a lot of guys. I've always respected you. But you gave me a chance to look at your program from the inside, which I really hadn't done my entire life, followed you my entire life. But this has really been an honor to sit here with you week over week.
Well, I appreciate you putting the word out there about us. I think the positive of social media and folks like yourself, and I think that's helped get the word out about our program, that we think we have a pretty special university, pretty special program. And then, through the social media, you can kind of get a little window into some of the things that we're about. And so I appreciate you, getting the word out there about Utica football.
Well, Coach, I'll be there on Saturday. My wife and I will be back. We're going away Friday night, but I'll be there cheering you on, and can't wait to see it. And I can't wait to talk to you next week. Hopefully we're celebrating one final win for you.
Hey, listen, I know Mohawk Valley, you're all fired up for hockey season. We got one more week of football. Come on out to the
That's
gate,
right.
1 o'clock. The 12th man tailgate will be rocking. Fear the Moose.
All right, Coach. We'll see you Saturday.
Take care.
And what was really cool, too, about last Saturday was the hockey team was playing Brockport at the Odd, and the football team beat Brockport on the road, which was an unbelievable game to watch. And, again, I was watching on my phone. My wife kept saying, will you put the phone down? I'm like, Lindsay, I'm watching the UC game. It's a really good game here, so it's almost done. But it's been an absolute honor to have Coach Faz on. He's always been good to me, and my dad when my dad was coaching high school, and he's given me the opportunity to learn about the program from the inside and really follow the players. And I've always followed UC. I've always followed him. But this year has been pretty special, and I've been able to build some relationships with a lot of the other D3 guys across the area and across all of Division III. So it's been a really cool year. Looking forward to one more final win this week for Coach and one more final show next week where we get a chance to recap everything here on the Rock Pile. So the Rock Pile will be back on Sunday, the Mohawk Valley Sports Watch. I'll be talking to Coach Fitz, the head coach at Colgate's going to join me, and Coach John Snyder, the Notre Dame girls head basketball coach, who's a friend of the show. We'll be talking some high school basketball as well on Sunday morning at 9 o'clock. So thanks for tuning in tonight. Thank the Coach Foz. Thanks for everybody for following the Rock Pile. The Rock Pile is where dreams become reality. Have a good evening, everybody.